सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Humble prostrations to one and all present here. In the last class, we were discussing verse number 23. Rudranam Shankaraschasmi Vittesho Yaksharakshasam Vasunam Pavakaschasmi Meru Shikharinamaham. Among Ekadasha Rudras, I am Shankara, the one who brings auspiciousness. Sham Karoti iti Shankara. Among Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am Vittesha. Vittesha means Kubera, the treasurer of heavens. So up to this much we had seen. The next one is Vasunam Pavakaha cha asmi. Among Ekadasha Vasus, among Ashtavasus, the 8 Vasus, I am Pavakaha. Pavakaha means fire. Pavayati iti Pavakaha. One of the names of fire is purifier. So here Bhagavan says, I am fire among Ashtavasus, the 8 Vasus. Many times in scriptures, in our religion, the Lord is compared with fire because there are so many properties which are common in both of them. A symbolic representation of God is fire. So what are the common things in them? Number 1, fire is self-luminous. Self-luminous means it doesn't need the help of any other entity to make itself known. You don't need a torch to see fire. Wherever the fire is, it reveals itself. It doesn't need another source of light because it is of the nature of light. In the same way, pure consciousness, to know consciousness, you don't need any other support, any other instrument, any other medium. Consciousness knows itself. Consciousness doesn't need the sense organs to reveal itself. We don't need eyes to experience consciousness. We don't need ears to experience consciousness. None of the five sense organs are needed. Do we need mind to experience consciousness? Really speaking, no. Please understand, the definition of consciousness in medical terminology is different from spiritual. In medical terminology, consciousness is a product of the mind. So therefore, they will use the term, this person lost consciousness. That is okay as far as medical subject is concerned, because for them, consciousness is a product of the mind. From mind comes consciousness, and when the mind goes, consciousness also goes. But as far as the spirituality is concerned, in spirituality, consciousness is not a product of the mind. It's not a function of the mind. In fact, mind borrows sentiency, borrows the ability to know, borrows the awareness from consciousness. So mind becomes aware because it borrows the property from pure awareness. This is the way we have to understand. So therefore, consciousness doesn't need the help of mind to know itself. So this is one property which is common. Fire doesn't need another light to know itself. In the same way, consciousness doesn't need any other medium to know itself. So a person can be deaf, dumb, blind. None of his sense organs may be functioning, but still he can experience consciousness. This is one common feature about fire and consciousness. The second one is, if you see, fire always goes upwards. And whatever is associated with fire also goes upwards. The air that which comes in contact with fire becomes hot, and the hot air goes upwards. The direction of fire is always higher. The flame always goes higher. In the same way, Bhagavan, anything associated with the Lord always goes higher. They are considered holy. Pavitram, Pavakam. The mantra which is associated with God is called holy mantra. A book associated with God is called a holy book. A person associated with God is called a holy man. A place associated with God is called a holy place. The mind associated with God is called a pure mind, divine mind, sacred mind. Even a stone in which the Lord's form has been chiseled, that is no more a stone. We consider it God, we consider it holy. Even the river is holy. Anything associated with God is holy. And why is it called holy? Holy is that because that which elevates the mind to the higher state. That's why it is called holy. A mind which thinks about God, that mind becomes pure, that mind becomes divine, that mind becomes peaceful. In fact, what is the difference between thought of God and thought of the world? The difference is the thought of God appears as a thought, but finally it leads to a state of thoughtlessness. So therefore, thought of God, though it may appear as a thought, it is very different from other thoughts. It's a unique thought. A mind which is associating itself with God, such a mind becomes a pure mind. And such a pure mind is able to think about the higher truths about the world. Who am I? Where have I come from? What is my nature of, what is my relationship with world? All these questions can be efficiently contemplated only in a pure mind. So that is the meaning. A mind associated with God goes high. It is a light mind. Higher contemplation is possible only in such a pure mind. So just like fire goes high, anything associated with God also goes high. Now, another common feature about this fire and God is anything put into fire finally is reduced to ashes. Whatever you put, the name and form, everything is gone, and finally you have ash. That is one of the reasons why we apply ash on our body. Ash is something which is purified by fire. In the same way, that which is purified by God, passed through the vision of God, what happens to that thing? So a person who sees the world in the light of God vision sees everything as God himself. There is no duality. Advaita state. Everything passing through fire finally reduces to ash. In the same way, everything passed through the vision of God, all the names and forms vanish, then there is only Brahman everywhere. There is only Bhagavan everywhere. This is another aspect of fire. Another common feature is this fire, if it is respected, revered, taken care properly, this fire can be of extreme use for us. It can cook food for us. It can warm the room for us. It can light up the room for us. Very, very useful, extremely useful. In fact, we are alive only because of the fire content in the body, the warmth in the body. We are alive because of fire. Fire, when treated properly, respectfully, with vigilance, with alertness, then that fire becomes a great blessing. But on the other hand, when we disrespect fire, neglect fire, ignore fire, what happens? That very same fire becomes the cause of destruction. It can burn down the entire house. It can even burn ourselves to death. So on one side, fire is absolutely useful, but the very same fire, when it is neglected, becomes the greatest danger, can lead to our destruction. In the same way, Bhagavan also. Bhagavan is there in the hearts of everyone. If you turn towards him, bow down to him, respectfully treat him, then that Bhagavan can bless us to such an extent that we can gain liberation. On one side, to gain worldly prosperity also, the way is turn to God. To attain spiritual evolution also, the solution is the same, turn to God. So Bhagavan can bless us with material prosperity and spiritual evolution. But suppose we ignore God, then that ignoring God itself can lead us to destruction. When we ignore God in life, we find that we have no more purpose in life. A person who doesn't believe in God, an atheist, if he analyzes his life, he'll find that there is nothing in life. The end is a tragic end. The body grows old, decays, and dies. So, what is the essence of life? Death is the final truth about life. A person who doesn't believe in God, there is nothing much in life. Little pleasure here and there. But finally, whatever he has earned, whatever he has enjoyed, all his near and dear ones, his possessions, positions, name, fame, everything is lost the moment death comes to him. So, minus God, when we analyze life, we find that there is no wonder why people get into depression. There is no wonder why people become pessimistic in life. There is no wonder. Because the final truth is becoming non-existent. So naturally this question will come throughout my life. What am I striving for? If in the end, the ultimate reality is non-existence. In fact, committing suicide becomes a better option. Because anyway I have to die, why not die now itself and put an end to this existence? Why struggle so much and then die miserably through old age? With one by one organs failing, limbs failing one by one. Why suffer and die? Let me die instantly. In fact, suicide appears to be a better option than dying through old age. So when God is no more there in our life, for an atheistic person, life can be extremely depressing if you just pay attention to the realities of life. Whereas for a person who believes in God, there is something to hope for. The goal of life can be God realization. There is something for which I can strive. There is higher state to reach, to attain. Also, we find people who don't believe in God, they become addicted to so many vices. Drinks, drugs, smoking, all bad habits. Because they don't find any purpose in life. People who ignore God, disrespect God, don't believe in God, they are ruled by the ego. And ego is the source of all negativities, all vices. So such a person is ruled by the ego. And such a person suffers in this world. Forget about the other world. In this world itself, that person suffers because of his own bloated ego. So what I'm trying to say is, fire and God, they are similar. Respect fire, it will bless you. Ignore fire, it can destroy you. In the same way, turn to God, it will bless you. Turn away from God, you are walking in the path of darkness and you will suffer unnecessarily. So this is another feature about fire and God. Another similarity. Now here fire, the name is given Pavakaha, purifier. Fire purifies. You put any metal in it, the impurities can be taken away. by melting that metal in fire. For example, gold. Gold is purified by passing it through a furnace. In the same way, Bhagavan is also purified. Think of Bhagavan, mind becomes pure. Bhagavan is the greatest to purify. All the sinful tendencies are purified when we meditate upon God, contemplate upon God. So fire and God, they are similar. And that is why in the olden times they used to have these rituals, Homa, Havana, etc. Another comparison is whatever is offered into fire, the fire consumes it. So that becomes an upasana. When fire is considered as God, when we offer something into fire and that thing disappears, we imagine that Bhagavan has accepted it. So in the olden time, they used to have these rituals, and in the fire, they used to offer things. In fact, that fire itself is created by a special process, not by matchstick, etc. They used to have this arani mathanam, the churn. There's a wooden cup, there is a wooden stick, and then they rub that stick, and then sparks emerge. Those sparks, they are turned into fire using some cotton or dried leaves, and then that fire is used to light up these sacrificial fires. So there is a divine way, sacred way in which the fire is generated, and there is a sacred way in which the fire is maintained also. Not everything can be put into that homakunda. There are certain twigs of certain trees, only that can be put. Sacred items alone can be put into that fire. So people who do Agnihotra, etc. So this fire is always there at their home, and the fire always has to be lit. So therefore you should have enough sacrificial wood, firewood, and all the time this fire is lit. So one part of the mind is always thinking about this. Is the fire there? Is enough material there? So this fire remembrance slowly turns into God remembrance. So that is why this ritual was considered important in those times. Later on, we started this diya thing. Lamp is kept. That fire in that lamp, that is always there. Throughout the day it is there. So you have to ensure that oil is there. What I'm trying to say is fire is compared with God and worshipped as God. Vasunam pavakaschasmi. Next one is Meruhu Shikharinam Aham. I am Meru. Among all the peaks, I am Meru. So Meru is that mythological mountain which is considered to be the axis for the entire cosmos. It is said that all the planets, the stars, they all revolve around this one axis called Meru. And on peak of the Meru is Brahmaloka, the highest world. So this is the concept in the scriptures that we find. Meru, a mythological mountain. Bhagavan says, among all the peaks, I am the Meru. In spirituality, this similarity is there. Spiritual evolution is considered like climbing a mountain. So in the mountain there is a peak. And as far as the mountain is concerned, there are so many ways through which we can reach the peak. In the same way, in spirituality also, to reach the state of perfection, there can be many paths. Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Hatha Yoga. There are so many paths. Any path is fine. You go on proceeding in one path, finally you will reach the same point. In the same way, take any path in spirituality, you will reach the peak. So Meru is that around which everything revolves. So what is that? in us around which everything revolves, it is consciousness. The body is alive because of consciousness. The sense organs are functioning because of consciousness. Mind is functioning because of consciousness. So the Meru in us is that consciousness. Reaching that consciousness, knowing that consciousness is the purpose of life. Many, many births are taken to reach the peak. So in this mountain, if you see, once we reach the peak, we are able to see all the paths from the top. When you are walking the path, we may not be aware of other paths, but once you reach the peak, you are able to see that all paths are leading to the same. In the same way, once we reach the peak of spirituality, the highest knowledge is gained, we come to know how all the different paths are actually taking us to the same goal. All the paths, all the religion, they're all talking about the same. Again, if you see, while climbing the mountain, to climb there is effort, to fall there is no effort. Spirituality is also like that. The whole process of spirituality is disciplining the body, the mind, getting rid of the vasanas. They are difficult. Struggle is involved. To push a stone up the mountain is always difficult, but allow the stone to roll down. It is very easy. No effort is necessary. In the same way, in the path of spirituality also, there is struggle involved. At every stage, the struggle is involved. The struggle is not there only once you have reached the peak. Again, the struggle is not there to lie down also. Once you attain ritual height, it is your responsibility to maintain that height. There is a greater responsibility also. A person who is on the base, he has no responsibility because there is no fall for him, because he has never reached some height. But the moment you reach the height, there is a responsibility to maintain the height. In the same way, the moment you have attained a little bit of spiritual evolution, there is a responsibility imposed upon you to maintain that. Otherwise, whatever height you have reached, that also you will lose. Now, as far as a mountain is concerned, there is height. So in spirituality, what is a height? The height is intensified awareness, blissful awareness. As you go higher and higher in the path of spirituality, there is more and more of peace, happiness. There is more and more of control over the body, the mind, the senses. There is more and more of intensified awareness. You become more and more aware. Aware of your own existence, aware of the bliss. So these are what we find as spiritual evolution. So just as when you climb the mountain, you gain height, in the same way, as you climb this ladder of spiritual evolution, there is bliss, there is peace, there is self-control, there is more and more of discipline, there is more and more of clarity in thinking, there is more and more of contentment, there is more and more of mastery over the senses. All these things come. That is called as height. So as we proceed higher and higher, there is more and more of awareness of blissful existence. Awareness of blissful existence. Sat, Chit, Anand. All the three, we start experiencing it more intensely. Sat, existence. Chit, consciousness. Anand, bliss. So what is happening as we spiritually evolve? We start experiencing an awareness of blissful existence. So this comparison of mountain is beautiful. Also in the mountain, you will find that the higher person can always see the lower person, but the lower person may not be able to see the higher person. The higher person is always able to guide the lower person. The lower person cannot guide the higher person. In the mountain climbing, we see that. In the same way here also. As we evolve more and more spiritually, we are able to guide others, because we can clearly see what mistakes they are making, because we have gone through the same path. So when we see somebody making a mistake, we clearly know. So just like climbing a mountain, spirituality also is almost like climbing a mountain. And once you reach the peak, there is nowhere to go. In the same way, once we know ourselves perfectly well, there is nothing else to achieve. So, in this way, there can be beautiful comparisons. More of it we will see in the next class. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।